Third, July 13, 2022, Executive Council, Council Chamber, State House, Boston, Mass. 02133. Dear councilors, I'm pleased to nominate John L. Revelli, am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
To the position of Associate Justice of the District Court. I submit the nomination for the advice and consent of the Executive Council pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm enclosing the nominee's resume for your convenience. Sincerely, Charles D. Baker, the Vice, the Honorable Patrick J. Malone.
Yes, glad to chair.
With that, I will ask anybody here that is in favor. We have 3 witnesses. The first is Carol Vittorioso, the great clerk of the Fitchburg District Court.
Thank you, Counselor. I'll be brief. On April 21st, 2021, you confirmed my nomination for the position of Clerk Magistrate of the Fitchburg District Court, and I'm grateful to each and every one of you, your support, and for the job. I love every aspect of it, and I am blessed to be a member of the Fitchburg District Court family, and I thank you. Your confirmation also gave me the opportunity to bring on the best candidates for the position of Clerk Magistrate, and as a result of that opportunity, I got John Revelli. So I thank you for that as well. John is the ideal judicial candidate and will be a great district court judge. I've known him my entire career. We practiced law in Worcester County, where he was a young prosecutor and I was a young bar advocate, and we were frequently on opposing sides of cases. Our careers as local attorneys continued as our respective practices grew in the probate and family, superior, and district courts. John has appeared before almost every department of the trial court. He has a strong command of the rules of evidence, vast knowledge of relevant case law, a tireless work ethic, and most importantly, the perfect judicial temperament. John's personality is delightful. He is friendly, witty, and approachable. The clerk's office staff loves him. Judges he has appeared before will welcome him as a colleague, and his former colleagues and opposing counsel will have great respect for him. He practiced law and he understands the time constraints and challenges of being a practitioner, and he will never forget those challenges as he sits on the bench. John's transition from private practice to public service was seamless. Not only will he come to the bench with decades of trial experience, he will also have the unique knowledge of the inner workings of the district court clerk's office. His competence, compassion, empathy, and ethics as a practitioner, and now as an assistant clerk, are exemplary, and those traits will make him an ideal district court judge. He has been invaluable to me as a first assistant clerk, and as much as I will miss him and would prefer to continue to work with him, the legal community, and more importantly, citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts need him more than I do, and will benefit more than I will if he were a district court judge.
Thank you so much. Next witness is the Honorable.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Council.
You came to the Great Hall.
Yes.
And those were the real pandemic days, right?
I will.
So how long have you been working with
In the clerk's office for 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year yesterday, actually.
But before that, you had knowledge.
I've known John since the late 80s, early 90s.
Wow. So what do you think is his greatest attribute to bring to the bench?
As I said, I think it's his temperament, first and foremost. And I think it's obviously his vast trial experience. He'll hit the ground running. He'll know exactly what to do as soon as he starts. And I think the advantage, he'll have that much more of an advantage because he's been in the clerk's office. So he knows how the jury session is run. He knows how the clerk's office is run, and he'll keep that in mind.
And I think his age, he's bringing, life experience to the bench, I mean, he's 20 years older than the ones that are coming through, 37, 38. I mean, to have them 32 years on the bench, I don't think that's what people want, But, so what did you see in him that you appointed him?
Well, first of all, when I saw he applied, I was very excited and hoped he would do well in the app, and because I knew what I would be getting. I knew I wouldn't have to train him, and I didn't. If anything, he came and taught me some things.
Great.
So that was amazing.
Nice to see
It
you.
was great to see you again, Counselor.
Stay well.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Christopher P. Locanto, First Justice of the Fitchburg District Court.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. I think I should clear up one remark. I referred to Carol as my big sister during her confirmation hearing, and I haven't heard the end of it since. So I just want to say, I meant to say like a sister. So every once in a while.
It takes us men to get whacked.
Yeah, it's been tough. So every once in a while, someone comes into the courthouse that just adds pieces and just makes the whole place better. For me, that's been John. He's been someone, frankly, who I've been able to bounce things off of, to get his ideas, to get his input, and frankly, to share my thoughts in terms of making a decision and getting some input from him. Now, I've known him, or known of him, I should say, for the better part of 30 years, but it wasn't until the past year that we've developed a close personal and professional friendship. Our careers have taken similar tracks. We overlapped in the DA's office for a short period of time in the early 90s. Then we went on to private practice. We've had cases with each other. I think we've competed for clients against each other. And it's been wonderful for the past year getting to know him much more closely. Now, we could detail how experienced he is in all the cases and all the professional and experience that he has. But I'd like to talk a little bit about the intangibles that he brings to the job that I think every district court judge should have. Every day he's making an effort. He doesn't just come in and mail it in. He's really working hard every single day, and I know that he'd continue that as a district court judge. He is high energy, and it's infectious to those people who are around him. He's got a positive attitude. He is really passionate, not only about the work, but the people in the community that he serves. He uses encouragement with the staff when he works with the staff. He is coachable. He is open to new ideas, new thoughts. He does that little bit of extra that, frankly, sometimes you don't get from everyone. He's always prepared. He has a great work ethic, and he brings to the bench, or will bring to the bench, I should say, great empathy and consideration for people and meeting people where they are. So I'm confident that John will be an excellent district court judge.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, go ahead.
How long has it been now for you?
9 years in November.
Wow.
9 years. Well, I love the job that I have now. I love the community. Carol referred to it as the Fitchburg District Court family. That's really what it is.
You're doing good things. It's been hard through the pandemic, I know, and you've been going through it, yeah.
It's been, the trial court's been great though in terms of the pandemic, and we've tried our best to serve the community. John's been a big part of that for the past year.
Through the pandemic, how has John worked? I mean, he just came in right at that time.
Yeah, so, which has been a lot of, it's been a lot of adjustment for all of us. John's been really, seamless in terms of his transition. He's been great in terms of coming in, and it's hard, when you're the judge, it's hard, you want to be able to bounce things off of and get people's input. I've considered John, frankly, a colleague since he's come here, so it's been great.
Yeah. I'm looking and I'm saying, where these blue-eyed Italians come from? I don't even have any in my family. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you.
Let me ask you a question. I'm asking all the judges this to come in here, and I want you to just ask you your opinion of it and what you do. There seems to be a policy and procedure that started in New Bedford District Court where if my case is on for trial and I show up there and the DA and I reach an agreement and I say, Judge, we have an agreement, the judge refuses to take it and will not let my defendant plead.
So it's different in Fitchburg District Court. What we try to do is we try to accommodate the lawyers. So we've got a busy docket, and I will say that John, the assistant clerks, John being one of them, will call the lawyers in advance and say, your case is on for trial, you're likely to go, this is, what's the situation? And then sometimes we'll get the input of, oh, it's going to be a resolution. John will say, counsel, would you like to come in earlier than the trial date if you'd like to resolve the case, and we can do it then? We're fine accommodating a plea on the day of trial. The reason why we reach out is a lot of times, when we bring people in during the pandemic, sometimes people are uncomfortable. And if things are going to be a plea and we know that it's going to be a plea, then we can cancel the jurors in advance. So John's been great in terms of doing that. But will I take a plea on the day of trial? Of course I will. Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't, let's say it's me. I'm showing up to Fitchburg District Court, and all of a sudden, for the first time, because now with Zoom, you don't get to grab the DA in person and say, can we work this out? So I show up for court, I'm ready to go. DA says something to me, I say something to the DA, and we say, geez, okay, we'll get this case resolved.
Yeah.
Or for the lawyer that the clerk calls and says, you're going to resolve it, and he says, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes getting there for the DA to see, number one, whether they have their witnesses, or number one, whatever. And I know in New Bedford, they do not allow that.
We do.
And I'm saying, first of all, a defendant in Massachusetts has a right to plea anytime up until the verdict comes in, right?
Yeah.
Even if they've been out for a day and a half, the jury, he can say, I'm going to plea now.
Yeah.
And the Commonwealth, and you accept the plea. Oh, good.
Yeah. The other thing too that we, and I know John won't decide this either. So I was in practice for 16 years. John was in private practice for longer. And there were times, clients, they want to go to trial, and then it's that day and they get cold feet, and for whatever reason they want to resolve it. The other thing too is that trial work is traumatic for a lot of the civilian witnesses. And if you can spare the civilians the trauma of having to testify, and everyone's in agreement with that, we absolutely will. And I know that John will as well.
Well, just from a selfish standpoint, if I was sitting as a judge and I got a trial, I'm going to do a trial. It's probably going to take usually a half a day to a day. And the parties agree. Beautiful. Get rid of a case. I don't have a jury to worry about. I'm not here, if the jury goes over to the next day, I don't have any of that. So to me, just selfishly, I'd say, I'll take every plea that I can get. Here's better for me. But that's evidently what they're doing there. And I don't know whether it's legal. I don't know whether there's a law on that, but I know policies and procedures in the district court. Any court, really. You have a right to plea whenever. Yeah.
And I agree with you, and we do take the pleas.
Good.
Accommodate our public and as best we can.
I can't wait to go to Fitchburg. Haven't been there in a while, but I love the court. Thank you, Judge. Oh, yes.
Yes, excuse me. It's good to see you, Judge. And good to break John.
Thank you.
Magistrate as well, and good to see all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the Honorable Dennis P. Sargent, First Justice of the Clinton District Court. The court that looks out over the dam.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Jubinville. First, I'd like to thank the council. It was approximately 9 years ago also for me when you were kind enough to confirm my nomination to the Clinton District Court. And I will be forever grateful for that faith and confidence that you have shown in approving my appointment. It's my distinct pleasure and my personal honor to testify in support of and in favor of the nomination of John Revelli for the position of Associate Justice in the Fitchburg District Court. I have known John for approximately 25 years, and I've had countless professional interactions with him. I've had interactions and cases with him and when we were both in private practice. I've had numerous cases with him when I was an assistant clerk. And now as a judge, I had had several cases with him prior to him being appointed as the assistant clerk magistrate for the Fitchburg District Court. I also have the pleasure of working with John on occasion up in Fitchburg District Court because I do not have a jury session in Clinton, so our jury cases go to the Fitchburg District Court. So I've had numerous occasions where John has been the session clerk and the clerk presiding in the courtrooms with me. And his experience, his knowledge, his background in the law, and his help in helping to prepare with the impanelment process, with jury verdicts and sometimes complicated jury verdicts, slips, and in helping with regard to the jury instructions. I find that John is a tremendous resource, and I'm confident that that experience that he has will serve him well in the Fitchburg District Court as Associate Justice. In the private practice of law, we've had numerous cases together, and I was always impressed with his work ethic, his professionalism. I always noted that he always treated opposing counsel fairly and even-handedly, and he always demonstrated tremendous knowledge of the substantive law, whether it be criminal, civil, or probate in a couple of matters. I always knew that when I had a case with John that he was always going to be prepared, so it forced me to make sure that I was always upping my game. I always knew that John was the type of lawyer that if he said he would get you a document or he would do something, that you could trust his word. And in Worcester County, that's one of the best things about practicing in Worcester County, was there was always that collegiality among the bar. You may advocate very forcefully for your clients, but you always respected each other and you always tried to maintain the professional standards that were necessary. So quite frankly, as an attorney and working cases with him, I always felt that he made me a better lawyer because it forced me to make sure that I was better prepared because I always knew that I had a great lawyer on the other side. He's had 3 years approximately experience as an assistant district attorney and as a special prosecutor. When he was an assistant district attorney in the late 90s, he served as supervisor in the Fitchburg District Court and as supervisor in the Worcester District Court, the two busiest jury sessions in our county. And one of them, obviously, Fitchburg being the court that he's in and that he's been nominated to. So he has that unique knowledge of that particular court. I've always heard from people that appeared before him when he was an assistant district attorney that John always exhibited the innate ability to understand the dimensions of human frailty and that good people make mistakes, and that he always was consistent in making proper sentence dispositions or recommendations that were consistent with the law, but also that took into account the unique circumstances of the particular case and the defendant's record and the circumstances in that particular person's life. As an assistant clerk magistrate, I was an assistant clerk prior to becoming a judge. I know the value of that experience dealing with the court system from working from the inside. He certainly has it as a practitioner, but he's also gained that valuable experience as an assistant clerk magistrate, in which he's learned how to properly manage the staff, to interact with the staff, and also understands what the impact of the staff is on certain decisions and things that he does, and he's always cognizant and respectful of the staff. I find that he's a great manager. He's honest, he's fair, he's loyal. I've observed the way that he treats his staff and the way that he has trained his staff to treat the public, and litigants, and the people that we serve as public servants. I've observed him with search warrants, with criminal applications. I know he's done a great job with small claim trials, civil motor vehicle hearings, and all of the nuances of what an assistant clerk does. So I believe that experience as an assistant clerk will be invaluable to him because it was invaluable to me when I became a judge. When I have been in Fitchburg this past year and working with John when he was the assistant clerk magistrate, I always found him to be even-tempered, thoughtful, respectful, to be a good listener, and to exhibit common sense and wisdom, all qualities that I believe are essential to being a great trial judge. He's always been able to make decisions in which he helps both parties feel that they have been heard, respected, and treated fairly. His decisions as a clerk magistrate have been realistically based upon the law, and where the law grants him discretion, he has exercised proper discretion in resolving cases at the clerk magistrate level. I've always found him to be practical, mature, prudent, and consistent in his decisions with the interest of justice. With regard to the fit for the community, I don't think there would be a better court for John to go to. He served there as an assistant district attorney. He served there as an assistant clerk magistrate. He has practiced in that court. So I think he was uniquely qualified to be in that community. He works well with the first justice, with the people that are at the courthouse, with Carol as the clerk magistrate. So I believe that that would be a perfect fit for him. In conclusion, John's diversified and well-rounded legal background that he has developed over his 30-plus year legal career as an attorney in private practice, as a defense attorney, as a civil litigator, as an assistant district attorney and a special prosecutor, and now as a clerk magistrate, provides him with a unique perspective and appreciation for the attorneys who practiced before him and what it's like to have come from private practice and the demands that are on all of them, especially the district court. I am confident that John Revelli possesses not only the professional competence and integrity to perform the judicial responsibilities, but also he has the personal characteristics to earn and inspire the confidence of the public and the bar in the performance of those duties. I find him to be a very kind person, a considerate person, and I know he's a great family man. It is for these reasons and without hesitation that I recommend John to you for confirmation as the Associate Justice of the Fitchburg District Court. I have always been mindful and respectful of the independent constitutional duty that the Governor's Council has in the approval of judges. I realize that he stands before you as the nominee, but it's up to you as to whether or not he becomes the Associate Justice of the Fitchburg District Court. And I've always respected that part of the process. So I humbly and I respectfully ask that you approve his nomination. I believe that he is well fitted for the solemn position of Associate Justice of the Fitchburg District Court.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Honor. Yes, go ahead.
Jack, you want to go, sir?
It's been 9 years now. I was right after Chris.
Well, we hear good things about you. Actually, I said, my nephew's wife was probation officer.
Yes.
Did you know Barbara Kelly?
Yes, I did. She wrote a letter for me during my confirmation. She was a wonderful officer, just a wonderful person.
Yeah, so very compassionate. Now, tell me, what is the greatest attribute that John brings to the court?
I'm going to give you two. One would be his temperament, and two would be his work ethic. His experience, he has the breadth and depth of experience that is necessary to be a good district court judge. What I mean by that is everything that we deal with on a day-to-day basis in the district court, criminal trials, civil trials, mental health cases with regard to substance abuse, Section 12 mental health commitments, 219A hearings for abuse prevention orders, 258E for harassment prevention orders, gun permit appeals. He's done and represented people as a plaintiff's attorney, as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, and now he's doing some of those things from a clerk perspective. So I think that unique experience that he brings with him, he's something that
Certainly found the right witnesses, because I've said it many times. We've had someone come and I'll say, well, have you seen him in court? What do you know? I saw him once. Are you kidding me? But I just want to tell you something personal, because I love my nephew and Barbara, and they couldn't have children. They adopted a baby, died of sudden crib death.
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but they did adopt two more. And they've grown, and I went to Grace's wedding, Grace Kelly. My sister was Grace Kelly, and they named her after her grandmother, but I would have to tell her I saw you again.
Yes, next time you see her, please tell her to
See you.
think highly of her.
But thank you for, this was not an easy thing in the courthouse during this pandemic. Is it now, is people coming in, is it in person?
Yes, most of it's in person, but we do accommodate Zoom, especially like when I do some of my civil stuff in the afternoon for case management or pre-trials. I always afford the attorneys the opportunity, if they wish, to appear virtually so they don't have to drive all the way out from their respective offices that may be outside of the
Well,
county.
it's great to see you.
Try
I
to
didn't
come.
get out that far.
Thank you. It's nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. What's the policy in Clinton District Court with regard to playing day of trial?
Well, I don't have trial, well, for
Have jurors?
bench trials, obviously, we take it. For jury trial, mine go to Fitchburg, but I sit up in Fitchburg occasionally in the jury session, and we do allow people to do that. I believe that there was a case that went up to the appellate court. It was from the city of Holyoke, or Holyoke District Court. There was a.
I know the judge, yeah.
Accept them on that day, a very good judge and a very learned judge. But that, I think, has been well settled now, that you can certainly submit the tender on the day of the trial. It's entertainment.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you, counselors. I appreciate it.
Anybody in opposition? Hearing nothing? Hear from you.
Thank you, Counselor. I'd first like to introduce the people that I brought with me. My son Nicholas, to the left, my wife Patricia, my son Ryan. Thank you so much to Clerk Magistrate Vittorioso, Justice Lecanto, and Justice Sargent. I'd like to thank my host counselor from District 7, Attorney Paul DePalo, for his guidance and assistance and support, and to all the council members for taking the time to speak with me and evaluate my personal and professional experience, as well as my temperament and my overall worthiness to determine if my nomination should be confirmed. Your work is so important to the citizens of the Commonwealth. The daily decisions of a trial judge have a lasting impact on the lives of people. It is an honor to be considered for the position of Associate Justice of the District Court. Thank you to Valerie McCarthy for your assistance in the process. I'd like to thank Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito for this nomination. Should I be fortunate enough to be confirmed by the council, I can assure you that the faith and the trust that you've placed in me will be reflected on each time that I take the bench. Thank you to the members of the Judicial Nominating Commission, along with Chief Legal Counsel Robert Ross, Executive Director Lauren Green Petrino, for your patience, guidance, and counsel throughout the process. Thank you to Clerk Magistrate Carol Vittorioso, who hired me as one of her assistant clerk magistrates at the Fitchburg District Court. It has been a great experience and superior training ground working with you and the dedicated people of the clerk's office. To have a certain level of expertise in all the things that the clerk's office does on a daily basis to keep the court running efficiently is extremely beneficial and something I highly recommend for any person pursuing this career path. Magistrate Vittorioso told me before I started that she loves and appreciates her job, and I've witnessed that firsthand. She's an excellent lawyer and manager, and she treats the police, the public, and those accused of committing a crime with the exact same dignity and respect. Thank you to Judge Lecanto, a man I've tried cases with and against when he was an assistant DA and who I've appeared before on numerous occasions since he was elevated to the bench. It has been a pleasure to assist you as a clerk and watch you efficiently, intelligently, and compassionately run your sessions. Your tireless effort with the participants of the drug court has been truly inspiring. Thank you to my mother on Cape Cod, who is watching today remotely. You raised me to be a respectful, empathetic, and caring human being. You always saw the potential in me and never gave up pushing me until I realized it in myself. To my brother, thank you for not only being a brother, but a loyal best friend who always supported and encouraged me. To my sons, Nicholas and Ryan, thank you for turning into the caring young men that I always knew you'd become, and for always putting your family first. I know that you will go on to do great things in whatever field of endeavor you choose. Who would have thought that one day we would all be filling out job applications at the same time? You never know what life brings. Thank you to my father and former law partner, Attorney Michael Revelli, who passed away on July 20th, 2018, exactly 4 years to the day that I was nominated for this position. I'm certain that he somehow played a role in my nomination. When I was young, I always knew that I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to be like him. When people experienced the biggest problems in their lives, they came to him and he helped them. They always seemed proud that he was their lawyer and he was proud to be representing them. This would have been one of his proudest moments. But in my heart, I know he's present. My father would often come and sit in the back of the row and watch my trials when I was an assistant DA. And he always showed up to my cross-examinations and closing arguments in my more serious private cases. He loved being a lawyer and was proud of his chosen profession, and he instilled that same sense of pride in me. I am proud to have practiced law for 30 years representing the people of the Commonwealth, private individuals and families. I'm also proud of my most recent position as the first assistant clerk magistrate of the Fitchburg District Court. My professional journey has truly been an honor. Thank you to my wife, Patricia. Thank you for being my best friend, my biggest cheerleader, and my fiercest, most loyal defender. You never complained when I worked long hours, when my attention was elsewhere because I was thinking about a case, when I took calls in the middle of dinner, or even when I represented some very unpopular clients. You understood the oath I took and how serious I took my affirmation. Thank you for giving up a chance to relax after a long day to watch booking videos with me, so I could get an unbiased opinion before a jury trial. And later listening to my stories about how unanticipated things folded after a trial when a person's freedom was at stake. In short, thank you for being a true partner in our life's journey.
Counselors, if you find me worthy of this position, I make a solemn oath to you to have empathy for all those who come before me, and to make thoughtful and fair decision based on a full understanding of all the facts and the law relevant to the proceeding. I promise to treat each person who enters that courthouse with the dignity and respect they so truly deserve. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Councilor Devaney, time starts.
Sorry. How nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Counselor.
That you appointed me. I can't believe it. But I have to, through the chair, ask the chair's permission because I have a little public statement that I want to say that it's involved with Councilor Ianella and Councilor Jubinville and myself. And I just wanted to tell you this. You applied for a clerk magistrate.
I did.
Now let me tell you, councilors have no idea who applies, who gets an interview, who's rejected, any of that. We're not told. We get one person that comes before us and we vote on that person. So in that case, what happened was you were rejected, Carmine Simonelli was rejected for that position, and they closed it. But then no public posting, and they appointed somebody. First to the Dudley Court, and that's what is JNC that we saw. But they switched it because they had one of our councilors, Jen Casey, for Dudley, so they put him to Westboro. But this is what I'm going to tell you. I found out, usually I don't find out who applied and who got rejected, but for you, I do. And what happened was, we had a police officer McCarthy, that was appointed for the position that you had applied for. And he had never been in the Westboro court in his life. And he had all he has done is been a police officer. He has never taken a course in court or law or anything. And you know how he got it? You know what his qualifications were? He and Judge Power were co-coaches, and they had been friends for years in Shrewsbury since they were 6 years old. And they both were co-coaches for the lieutenant governor's son. They all went to school together. And what happened was they closed it, and Carmine Simonelli did 2 jobs for a while, and that's how it happened. But you were approved, and you were recommended to the governor, and it was the governor who rejected you for the police officer. So that's the end of the story, but I want the public to know what happens here. People think we have all this power, that we choose who's going to be a judge or a clerk magistrate or whatever. But when I think of someone, no relationship to the court or anything, that got the position, and you've had over 500 cases and over 200 trials, I mean, you can imagine how I feel in this, but I want to tell you, 3 of the councilors voted no against the police officer. And it was Councilor Jubinville, Councilor Ianella, and me. So I want you to take that home and always have that memory. But having said that, I'm so glad you're here. And, you know, you have wonderful witnesses that I was very pleased that I voted for. And I just want to tell you that your cases are unbelievable that you had. And the thing that I find very hard is I look at the JNC and I see all of the cases, but I don't know the rest of the story. I don't know, well, what happened? You know, what was the sentence? What was the punishment? Now tell me about those 3 18-year-old girls who came in and they had been molested when they were in elementary school. Tell us that story.
I represented 3 survivors of some sexual molestation at the hands of a teacher. It was a civil case that we brought in action against this particular school department for the hiring of the teacher and neglect and failing to supervise the teacher. The case itself was difficult because it involved tolling of a statute, it involved repressed memories, it involved a lack of witnesses because, yeah, as you can imagine, this happened when they were in, I think, fourth grade. So an enormous amount of time had passed on the case. And they were probably 8 years old at the time, so at least 10 years had passed. Those witnesses were gone. They didn't remember anything. So it was a difficult case. What I liked the most about the case is these young girls weren't looking for money. They were looking for some acknowledgement.
But they held that all those years.
All those years. And we were able to get them what we believe was a very fair settlement in the case and an acknowledgement of the inappropriate touchings by the teacher.
When you look at 30 years, is there one case that stands out that you'll always remember that it was the most rewarding?
I've had some very emotionally charged cases, and any trial lawyer will tell you, and the judges will tell you, is the only person more nervous when that jury walks back into the room to give a verdict is probably the lawyer themselves. You stand in the shoes of those defendants, and you suffer those emotions, the highs and the lows, and that 5 minutes that takes to go by before that verdict is reached is so some great angst and some anxiety. I've had some cases that included 25 to years life penalties. So and I've received some favorable verdicts, not guilty verdicts, on cases like those where I truly believe that my client wasn't at fault or wasn't guilty in those cases. So a case like that, and I have mentioned some of those cases in there, a case like that probably gives me the most satisfaction and relief.
I have a preference for people that come before me, private practice, because that tells me that, well, first of all, you choose your clients.
Sure.
I mean, it's nice to have experience in the attorney general or district attorney, but they're giving you the case, and you're halfway there when the police give them report and all of that. And that means a lot. And this is on my personal opinion. I just feel when you're in private practice, when the client is before you with the lawyer, you know that he's paying a lot to the lawyer. And I know everybody comes in at 9, but maybe you can accommodate and take that person first or whatever. And you have to be responsible for paying the rent and shoveling the snow. And I think that gives you a different feeling, coming into the court. What do you think?
I certainly understand the demands of private practice, having been in private practice for 26 years prior to going to the clerk's office. We paid the rent, we paid the staff, we understood sick days and personal days, and that we had to, as well as practicing law and the beauty of practicing law and the love of the issues and the theater that is the trial, it's a business and you have to run a business. And we understand that in order to make that money, most of that money is made when you're back at the office and not in the courtroom. So I understand the rigors of private practice and private practitioners, and I certainly would appreciate that from my view on the bench.
Person, I feel that way. But, when we met, I mean, your father was such an influence on you.
Yes.
And wonderful role model to tell you, to lead you in the right path and what to do if you're going to be a lawyer and how you treat people. And I love your program. I mean, you've helped people indigent, and that means a lot, because I won't vote for anyone if they don't have compassion. And when you get a 37-year-old, they don't have any pro bono. They don't have life experience to bring to the bench as you have, So I like the age, I like the life experience, the legal experience. And you must have gone through to the, well, maybe they changed, but it was the same Baker administration. When you went to the Judicial Nominating Commission, were the same people?
I think there was some turnover. My subcommittee certainly wasn't the same people.
Now, how many were there?
8 or 9 or 10.
Yeah, see, now, I say this all the time publicly, but it goes nowhere, because Dacier, since he's been the chair in the Baker administration, there are 21 lawyers who have the awesome responsibility to recommend to the governor who's going to be a judge. That's amazing. And yet, in this administration, there's never been 21 there. So they all vote for someone they haven't seen, they haven't heard, they haven't talked to for a lifetime. Lifetime job. That bothers me, but it goes nowhere, doesn't change. You're going to keep Dacier, and that's what he's going to do. But anyway, having said that, it has nothing to do with you, but it's nice to vent. But, you know, when you think of the people that you have, you know, that you have represented, and you followed up on some of them in their lives, if they've been addicted or whatever, tell me about that. That has to be rewarding to know.
It has, that's certainly rewarding. You know, I've also attended wakes and funerals too, so you understand addiction, you understand people that succumb to drug and drug use disorders, and you really feel for those people, and you really try to empathize. Sure, but you also see the recoveries too, and that makes you feel good. And you know, when you go through this process and you get nominated, you receive a lot of text messages because it becomes public, and a lot of people say thank you. And I think every judge in Worcester County reached out to me, and that meant so much to me. But also clients that said, you helped me.
Well, that's why
And you earned it, and you deserve it.
that's what I love about you.
Kept in touch.
I know, because I'm full-time, so I go out to drug courts and, you know, I just went out to prisons recently for the two, men that had, you know, commutations. And I've been asking for years, commutation pardons, we don't get them. And that was such a travesty of justice. Don't you think do you think that there's racial disparity in the courts in Massachusetts?
Oh, I think so, and I think the courts acknowledge it as well. And I think there's, you know, there's some systemic racism that's there, that's acknowledged. There's a lot of unconscious bias that I think the courts have.
I met with these two men who happen to be black, life in prison without parole. Travesty of justice. 30 years ago, each of them at their trial, there was not one person of color on the jury. After I met them, I met 3.5 hours or more with each of them, got lost going in Norfolk and Bridgewater. But after I met with each of these men, telling you, I sat in the car and I cried. Such a travesty after 30 years. And I went to their lifer hearings, the parole board, and they're in touch with me. I'm going to be meeting with them. But I just think 30 years of their lives, you know, and how many others are there that shouldn't be, that are incarcerated. So, but the drug graduation is amazing. And these are the people who are addicted, and they get up here, and I'm sitting in the back, and tears come to your eyes because they talk about they were drug addicted, they were alcoholics or whatever, and they got through this program and it changed their lives. You know, I really wanted to see what the drug court was. I said, did you really need a drug court? They do.
We have one in Fitchburg, and Judge McConto has done a great job in Fitchburg, and we just had a ceremony and had 4 graduates in that program, and that's the difference. That prevents recidivism, that rehabilitates people, that gives them the tools that they need, that they're not back before us in front of the court system. We don't need the business. We don't want the business.
Yeah, but the only thing is, and I keep on saying it, we need more. We need more places for people to go that are drug addicted, not overnight or a weekend. I mean long term.
Councilor Devaney,
And
thank you.
there's a new rule here.
Councilor Duff, you're up for questioning.
It's not to shut, it's to keep us on track, just like they do in the US Senate. It's not a new thing. Anyway, I enjoyed our several talks that we had, and thank you for your time. I'm not going to ask you questions today. I'm going to ask you one question because we covered everything. And thank you for listening to my my projections, and frankly, my ideas, the Zoom rooms and that whole thing fascinating. And you were helpful because you weren't giving me the answers I wanted, but you gave me the same answers I get from a lot of folks, which is really helpful to me because then it lets me know what track I'm on. So thanks for that. One of the things I've talked about to people, you and I already know things, meaty issues that I care about, and I'm not going to bemoan that today. What I would like to say, though, is that if you do ascend to the bench, that, you know, I know your family will support you and your colleagues will support you. And since this is district court, it's people's court, you're gonna see the nitty gritty of, you know, the best of times, the worst of times, right? And, the worst day of someone's life. It's also the most important day of someone's life, no matter what the charge is. They want to be heard, they want to be seen, they want to win, but they want to be treated with respect nonetheless, and feel that they were validated at least. And I'm confident that you will do that. But what I really want to make sure is that if something goes awry at some point, because you're a young man in your career, you know, you make a decision that it doesn't come out how you thought it would, person goes off and commits a horrible crime, or you read the law one way and give a sentence that everyone's hair catches on fire because they don't understand why, they disagree with you, and you're in the paper, and people are at your house protesting, and I mean, this is real, this happens. Make sure you have your system in place, your support system, and that you can take a break and you can step back and rely on your friends and colleagues and the chiefs and the other judges for that, what I always refer to as your spiritual support.
Sure.
This isn't religion, this is, you know, your spirit. Because I think it gets harder and harder, and it's very easy for all of us to, you know, rattle our sabers and, you know, the hell with them, what do they know? And we're seeing it in DC right now, right? And for me, I don't know if I talked to you about this, but for me, I've had to really do a lot of introspection about who am I and what do I really think? Because I don't really like some of the stuff coming out of that court. Yet I have a very strong feeling about protesting at people's homes and what that line is. And so
Sure.
I need definite governor's council. I need the person has to be real of who am I? And so for me, I'm just sharing this because it's my own work that I'm doing right now. And I just want you to be ready if it happens, and I hope it never does, and it may never. But I do think it's something that our judges, and frankly, a lot of folks who work in the courts today have to be prepared for. You know, it's not like the old days. You know, I live in Gloucester. Our courthouse is upstairs from our police station. It's like Mayberry RFD, you know. It's different. It's a real community court. And that mitigates a whole lot of things that can happen in the community just because of the physicality of the court. But all of them have that opportunity. So that's all. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think you're wonderfully qualified for the position. You have so much experience in the courtroom. You're sitting as a judge on a trial. Parties come in and want to plea, they're going to be able to plea in your court?
The easy answer and the short answer is yes. A trial is a fact-finding mission. And if you'd say to me that my client wants to adopt the facts contained in the police report, then I don't understand the purpose of the trial.
Judge Gilday called on your behalf, and Tony Salernos, I spoke to Sunday for quite a while, and Peter Ettenberg called about you too. So you get a lot of support from Worcester County. We'll be voting on you next week.
Thank you, Mr.